We often talk about budgets, investments, and, financial planning. But what if the most powerful tool for building a true financial well-being isn't a spreadsheet or a stock ticker?
What if it's something deeper?
Exactly. Something right inside your own head. Today, we're taking a deep dive into this fascinating intersection of human psychology and, well, financial behavior.
It's a really interesting space.
It is. We're going to explore a field called behavioral finance and zoom right in on the powerful, very personal concept of your money mindset.
Okay.
And our mission today is really to help you understand why we make certain financial choices, sometimes choices that seem, frankly, completely irrational.
We all do it sometimes.
I do. And then crucially, give you actionable steps to literally rewire your brain for financial abundance and truly transform your financial destiny.
That sounds ambitious, but definitely needed.
Yeah, and we've pulled some incredible insights. We looked at an in-depth article on behavioral finance, biases, emotions, and financial behavior, and another really compelling piece called Rewiring Your Brain for Financial Abundance.
Good sources.
Yeah, so we're here to unpack the most important nuggets of knowledge from these for you.
All right, let's get into it.
So, okay, if traditional economics paints this picture of perfectly rational humans, how does behavioral finance, challenge that view?
Well, the traditional theories, they assume we're all like supercomputers when it comes to money.
Right. Perfectly logical.
Perfectly logical, always maximizing our self-interest, completely free from emotion or, social influences. They assume markets are efficient, decisions are purely data-driven. But behavioral finance steps in and basically says, hold on a minute, that's a nice theory, but humans are, well, messy.
Messy. I like that.
Yeah. It's less about perfect logic and much more about how our brains, with all their quirks and shortcuts, actually make financial choices.
So it's really about understanding that our financial decisions aren't just based on numbers. They're heavily influenced by our psychology, our fears, instincts, even how our memory works sometimes.
Precisely. And that's why it can explain why markets sometimes go wild, far beyond what those pure economic models would ever predict.
Okay.
Yeah, this field, it's a subfield of behavioral economics, and it proposes these psychological influences and biases profoundly affect how both individual investors and financial professionals behave.
Even the pros.
Oh, absolutely. It can explain all sorts of market anomalies, those severe rises or falls in stock prices that leave everyone just scratching their heads. In fact, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, they even have staff specifically focused on behavioral finance. That shows how seriously it's being taken now.
Wow, okay. That's a crucial distinction then.
Yeah.
It sounds like behavioral finance doesn't just point out irrationality, but it actually categorizes these influences, like puts names to them.
It does, yeah. There are 5 sort of key concepts that help us understand these psychological drivers. The first one is mental accounting.
Mental accounting, okay.
This is our tendency to allocate money for specific purposes. Think of it like having different mental buckets for different types of money, even though, it's all just cash at the end of the day.
Right, like vacation fund versus emergency fund, even if it's in the same bank account.
Exactly. Then there's herd behavior. This is where individuals mimic the financial behaviors of the majority.
The fear of missing out, or FOMO.
Right, totally. We notoriously see it in stock market rallies when everyone rushes in, or those deep sell-offs when everyone panics and rushes out together.
Like everyone rushing to buy toilet paper during the pandemic, even if their pantry was already full. Financially, though, that's far more impactful. What else?
Exactly the same principle. Okay, next up we have the emotional gap.
Emotional gap.
This describes decision-making driven by extreme emotions. Think anxiety, anger, fear, or even just intense excitement. These strong feelings often override logic and, well, they lead to some pretty irrational choices.
Buying high out of excitement, selling low out of fear.
Precisely. Then there's anchoring. This is where we attach a spending level or an investment decision to a certain reference point.
Like what?
Like maybe a budget you set years ago or the first price you saw for something, even if circumstances have totally changed.
Got it. Okay.
And finally, number 5 is self-attribution. This is basically making choices based on overconfidence in your own knowledge or skill.
Thinking you're smarter than the market, maybe?
Pretty much. Often ranking your own expertise higher than it objectively is.
Okay, so thinking about mental accounting for a second, putting money into those mental buckets. It's fascinating how companies exploit this, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. How so?
Well, think about credit card rewards. Have you ever noticed how you're, way more willing to spend points or rewards or miles compared to spending actual cash?
Yeah, that's true. Feels different.
It does.
Mm.
That's mental accounting right there.
hmm
You mentally categorize those points as, fun money or found money, so you're less careful with them than with actual dollars from your bank account.
That's a great example. It's brilliant, almost invisible, how they influence our spending that way.
Totally. So these broad concepts, how do they actually show up day to day?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. These broader concepts, they manifest as specific, identifiable biases in our daily financial lives.
Biases, okay?
Yeah, these are the deeper patterns that reveal our psychological leanings and ultimately lead to those seemingly irrational decisions we talked about.
That makes so much sense. So, okay, with those foundational concepts laid out, what are some of the most common, maybe everyday biases we should really be watching out for in our own financial decisions?
Okay, well, let's start with a big one. Confirmation bias.
Ah, yes, we all know this one, right?
We do. It's that tendency to accept information that confirms an already held belief about an investment or, any financial decision, really, even if that information is flawed or incomplete.
So we seek out stuff that makes us feel right.
Exactly. We selectively seek out and interpret data to validate what we already want to believe is true.
And what's often overlooked there, I think, is how deeply this prevents us from truly evaluating risk and opportunity. It kind of makes us blind to warning signs or maybe better options.
Precisely. It really narrows your field of vision. Then there's experiential bias. This is sometimes called recency bias or availability bias.
Okay, what's that?
This is when an investor's memory of recent events, especially strong ones, makes them biased or leads them to believe that same event is far more likely to happen again soon.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think about after the 2008 and 2009 financial crisis. Many investors got out of the stock market completely.
Right, they were scared.
They were scared, yeah. They had this dismal view and expected more hardship, even though the economy and the market did eventually recover. Their recent, very painful experience skewed their view of the future,
And they missed the recovery.
causing them to miss the recovery, exactly.
Wow. And then a really big one, I think this affects so many of us, is loss aversion.
Oh, huge. Definitely.
This is placing a significantly greater psychological weight on the concern for losses than on the pleasure from market gains.
That's it. It's why selling a losing stock feels so much worse, psychologically, than the equivalent gain feels good.
Yeah, like pulling a painful tooth. Even if you know it's the smart move long term, we'd rather avoid a loss entirely than chase a comparable gain sometimes.
And building right on that loss aversion, there's a specific pattern called the disposition effect.
The disposition effect. Okay.
Yeah, this is when investors tend to sell their winning investments too early just to lock in those quick gains.
Feels good to take a profit.
It does. But then they stubbornly hold on to their losing investments, hoping they'll just get back to the initial purchase price.
The I just want to break even trap.
Exactly. They're reluctant to admit they made a mistake, and they often gauge performance based only on their entry price, completely disregarding changes in the investment's actual fundamentals or prospects.
And sometimes they even double down, right? Put more money into the loser.
You see that too. They double down on losing positions, taking on even greater risk just in the hopes of breaking even eventually.
Yikes. That's a classic trap. Okay, and another common one that can silently limit our growth is familiarity bias.
Familiarity bias. Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, it's the tendency to invest only in what you know. Things like domestic companies only, or maybe just local investments in your town.
Okay. Seems sensible on the surface.
It does. Comfort is nice. But this can lead to a really severe lack of diversification across different sectors and investment types, which ironically increases your overall risk.
Because all your eggs are in that one familiar basket.
Exactly. And this bias can show up based on industry, operations, products, management you like, clientele, marketing, even just avoiding things with complex accounting.
So if we kind of connect this back to the bigger picture, all these biases, they reveal something really fundamental, don't they?
What's that?
That markets aren't always fully efficient. The efficient market hypothesis suggests all information is already baked into prices, so you can't really beat the market consistently.
Right, the standard theory.
But behavioral finance says no, our human psychology and social factors, they actively influence buying and selling decisions. And these behavioral theories, they're powerful tools for explaining those market anomalies, things like speculative bubbles or really deep recessions that pure efficiency can't fully account for.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about how these biases work, these sort of mental glitches. But what's the deeper reason we have them? Is there something beneath the surface driving these reactions in the first place?
Well, yeah, it turns out it often comes down to something incredibly personal, your money mindset.
Money mindset. Okay, define that for us.
It's quite simple, really. Your money mindset is the sum total of your thoughts, your feelings, and crucially, your beliefs about money.
Beliefs?
Yeah, and these aren't just surface-level opinions. These are often deep-seated beliefs, frequently formed way back in childhood.
From family, culture, early experiences, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And they become your unconscious financial operating system. They just run in the background.
That's a great analogy. Like a blueprint for a building, maybe, guiding every decision you make about money.
That's a perfect way to put it. And if your blueprint contains limiting beliefs, maybe things like money is the root of all evil, or money is just hard to come by, or I'm not the kind of person who gets rich, you'll constantly run into these invisible walls no matter how hard you try with practical strategies like budgeting or investing.
So like a subconscious belief that money is bad might cause you to actually push away wealth opportunities. Or maybe quickly spend money once you get it, almost like you're trying to get rid of it.
Precisely. It creates this internal conflict, and this is exactly where the self-fulfilling prophecy comes into play.
What you believe, you achieve.
Yeah.
Or fail to achieve.
Pretty much. If you genuinely, deep down, believe you'll always struggle financially, you're likely to find ways to confirm that belief through your actions. Or, just as powerfully, through your inactions. Conversely, a belief in abundance in your own capability doesn't just make you feel good. It literally opens doors to new possibilities you wouldn't have seen otherwise.
And the tricky part is, these beliefs often operate subconsciously, right?
Yeah.
You might not even be aware you hold them.
That's the key. You might not even know they're there, but they subtly yet profoundly influence your emotions around money, your comfort zone with risk, your spending habits, your ability to receive money, to manage it.
It sounds like where money blocks come from.
Exactly. This is precisely where those money blocks originate. Deep-seated beliefs acting as barriers.
So, okay, what does this all mean for us personally? As we dig a little deeper here, let's try to identify some of the most common money blocks that might be silently holding you, the listener, back. See if any of these sound familiar.
Yeah, let's name them. One of the most pervasive, I think, is the scarcity mindset.
Scarcity. Okay.
This includes beliefs like, there's just not enough money to go around, or money is really hard to come by, or that zero-sum idea, if I get rich, someone else must get poorer.
And how does that play out?
Well, it leads to behaviors like hoarding money out of fear, or being afraid to spend even on necessary investments, or missing opportunities because your focus is constantly stuck on what's lacking. It creates this constant background hum of worry and anxiety.
Yeah, I can see that. Then there's that equally common belief that money is evil, or maybe rich people are inherently bad.
Right. Beliefs like wealth corrupts people, or only greedy people get rich, or even spiritual people shouldn't really care about money.
How does that block you?
It creates this deep internal conflict, especially if you do start achieving some success. It can cause you to unconsciously sabotage your own efforts to earn more, or to feel intensely guilty or uncomfortable just having money.
Okay. What else?
Another really prevalent block is that self-limiting label. I'm just not good with money.
Oh, yeah. Hear that a lot.
Right. It sounds like, oh, math isn't my strong suit, or I'll never understand investing, it's too complicated, or I'm just a spender by nature, that's who I am.
And that becomes an excuse.
It becomes a very convenient excuse for inaction or for sticking with poor financial habits. It effectively prevents you from even trying to learn, grow, or improve your financial situation because you already decided you can't.
We've also got that widespread idea, maybe a bit more subtle. Money doesn't buy happiness, or maybe just it's not that important.
Yeah, that's a tricky one.
It is, because while it's true, money isn't everything. Dismissing its importance with beliefs like, oh, I can be happy without money, or money won't solve my real problems. Well, what does that lead to?
It often leads to neglecting the practical stuff. Crucial financial planning, saving, investing. It overlooks the fact that money, while not the goal itself, is an incredibly powerful tool for creating freedom, security, and impact in your life and for others.
Right. It's a tool. Okay, one more.
Yes, and this one's often hidden, sometimes even from ourselves. The fear of success, or its flip side, the fear of failure.
Fear of success. How does that work?
It manifests as these anxious thoughts like, what if I actually make a lot of money and then I lose it all? Or what if I get rich and suddenly my friends or family treat me differently or start asking me for money all the time?
Ah, okay. Or maybe just feeling unworthy.
Exactly. I'm simply not worthy of great wealth. And this can lead to procrastination, to self-sabotage, to not taking necessary calculated risks, all because of these subconscious fears about the consequences, whether those perceived consequences come from success or failure.
Wow, okay. Hearing all that laid out, it raises a really crucial question, doesn't it?
Which is,
Can we actually change these deeply ingrained beliefs, these blueprints we've maybe been operating from our whole lives?
yeah, that's the big question. And the good news is, yes, absolutely. You can rewire your money mindset.
Okay, that's encouraging.
It takes conscious effort, definitely, and consistency. But the results, they can be profoundly liberating.
This sounds like incredibly powerful stuff. So for someone listening right now, maybe thinking, okay, yeah, I definitely see myself in some of those blocks.
Yeah.
How do we begin this rewiring process? What are the first concrete steps?
Okay, the very first step before you can change anything is to identify and acknowledge your existing beliefs.
Become aware of them.
Exactly. A great way to do this is through journaling. Sit down and write out your earliest memories involving money. What did your parents or caregivers teach you, explicitly or implicitly? What strong emotions do you feel when you think about money? Also, practice self-reflection in the moment. When you feel financial stress rising, or you find yourself resisting a smart money decision, just pause and ask yourself, okay, what underlying belief might be driving this reaction right now?
Just noticing it. Okay, so once you've identified some of those limiting beliefs, what's next?
The next step is to actively challenge and reframe them.
Challenge them. How?
Consciously question if that belief is really 100% true. Like, is money always hard to come by? Look for evidence either in your own life or in the world around you that contradicts that belief. Find examples of people creating value and money flowing to them.
Okay, find counter evidence.
Exactly. And then actively reframe those negative beliefs into positive, empowering ones. So, for example, instead of thinking money is hard to come by, you could consciously replace it with something like, money flows easily to me through creating value for others.
Or instead of I'm bad with money.
You could powerfully declare, I am capable of learning and mastering my finances. I am getting better every day.
I like that. Okay, what else?
Building on that reframing, you can practice positive financial affirmations daily.
Affirmations.
Yeah.
Some people are skeptical about those.
Do they work?
Well, it's about repetition and consistency. Repeat positive statements about money and your financial capability. You can write them down, say them aloud in the mirror, whatever works for you. Things like, I am a money magnet, I deserve financial abundance, or I am a wise and capable investor.
Mm-hmm.
Consistency here is absolutely key. It's much like, the philosopher Jim Rohn emphasized building positive daily disciplines makes a huge difference over time.
Right, small steps consistently. And this next one sounds really potent. Visualize your financial success.
Yes. This is incredibly powerful. Spend dedicated time, maybe just 5 minutes a day, vividly imagining yourself achieving your financial goal.
What does that look like? See your savings account growing. Picture yourself living debt-free. Envision your investments performing well over the long term. And really try to engage all your senses. What does it feel like to have that financial freedom? What sounds are associated with it? What relief or joy do you experience?
So it's not just wishful thinking.
No, it's more like training your subconscious mind. You're showing it the desired destination, making it more receptive to opportunities and actions that lead you there. It helps align your unconscious mind with your conscious goals.
Okay, that makes sense. What about our environment?
Yes, it also really helps to curate your environment both externally and internally.
Externally, like who you hang out with.
Exactly. Surround yourself with people who have a growth mindset, people who have positive financial habits and attitudes. That's another brilliant Jim Rohn principle, actually. Consume content books, podcasts, articles that educates and inspires you about finances rather than stuff that just drains you or reinforces scarcity.
And internally.
Internally, be incredibly mindful of your self-talk. Catch those negative thoughts about money as they arise. Challenge them immediately and actively replace them with those empowering beliefs and affirmations we talked about.
It's like weeding a garden.
Yeah.
Right. Pull out the negative, plant the positive.
Perfect analogy. And finally, because mindset work isn't just about thinking, it's really about doing. You need to take small, consistent, actions.
Action reinforces the belief.
Precisely. Each small, positive financial action you take, whether it's setting up that automatic transfer to savings, tracking your spending just for a week, reading one chapter of a finance book, learning one new investing term, each action reinforces your new beliefs and builds confidence.
And success builds on success, right? Creates momentum.
Absolutely. It creates this powerful upward spiral. You start to see results, which reinforces the positive mindset, which leads to more positive action, and so on.
Okay. So if we connect this back to the bigger picture again, when you truly commit to transforming your money mindset, doing this kind of work, you don't just feel better internally, right?
No, not at all. Your financial reality actually begins to shift in tangible, measurable ways. It's not just in your head.
And this isn't just about feeling less stressed, although that's huge. What are the tangible, real-world results we can actually expect to see once we start rewiring our mindset in this way?
Well, first off, you'll absolutely see increased earning potential.
Really? How does mindset affect earning?
A positive mindset, an abundance mindset, it just opens you up to seeing new opportunities you might have previously overlooked or dismissed. It helps you negotiate better for your value because you believe you're worth it. And it empowers you to take those necessary calculated risks that can lead to higher income.
Because you genuinely start believing you're worthy of more.
Exactly. You value yourself and your contributions more.
Okay. What else changes?
You'll also experience smarter spending and saving. It becomes more natural. You just become more intentional with your money. You start to effortlessly recognize unnecessary spending, those impulse buys or habits that don't really serve you, and you find it easier to redirect that money towards your actual goals. Your spending starts to align with your values, not just fleeting impulses or emotional triggers.
Makes sense. Less reactive, more proactive.
And related to that, you'll develop confident investing.
Moving past the fear.
Yes. You'll feel much more comfortable learning about investing, engaging with it, seeing it as a powerful tool for long-term growth rather than some scary gamble only experts can do.
And that confidence helps you stick with it.
Absolutely. This new confidence allows you to develop and stick to your long-term strategy, much like the discipline we admire in successful long-term investors like Warren Buffett. You're less likely to panic sell during downturns.
And crucially, I imagine you'd find reduced financial stress.
Oh, significantly. When you genuinely believe in your ability to manage money, when you trust the process of wealth creation over time, that constant anxiety and worry around money just decreases dramatically.
You move from fear to empowerment.
That's exactly it. From a place of fear to a place of empowerment and control.
Okay. Any other outcomes?
Yeah, one fascinating outcome is that you start attracting opportunities.
Attracting them. Magically.
Well, maybe not magically, but an abundance mindset often makes you far more open and sort of attuned to recognizing and seizing opportunities that you might have previously overlooked or dismissed entirely when you were stuck in scarcity thinking.
So you're just more receptive. You see possibilities where before you only saw problems.
Exactly. You're simply more attuned to possibilities in your financial life and beyond.
So ultimately, a strong, healthy money mindset. It's really the foundation, isn't it, for lasting financial freedom?
It truly is. It's not just about accumulating a certain amount of money. It's about cultivating a healthy, empowered relationship with money.
A relationship built on empowerment, clarity, and continuous growth.
That sums it up perfectly.
Wow. Okay, so your money mindset really is the hidden operating system of your financial life. By taking the time to understand, challenge, and consciously rewire your beliefs about money, you unlock this immense, often untapped power to shape your financial destiny.
Moving you from those unconscious biases we talked about earlier.
Right, to a place of conscious abundance and deliberate choice.
It's powerful work.
It really is. So for you, our listener, maybe a final thought to mull over. Consider one financial decision you've made recently where, looking back, emotion might have played a larger role than you realized at the time.
We all have them.
We do. And ask yourself, what new insight from this deep dive today might change how you approach a similar decision in the future?